Hey, and welcome guys. Today I have another older kit from Revell Monogram, the Babylon 5 Starfury Mark 1. Very excited about this. I was given a bit of a challenge by the Brisbane model builder, or MrBMBuilder. Check out his channel. He has challenged me to, he recently did a very in-depth review of this kit, so I'm not going to do a review. Check out his channel. I'll see if I can figure out how to put a link to that video in the description. If I can figure that out, I'll put that there. But anyway, check his channel out. He does a very in-depth review of the kit. I believe his kit is actually a special edition kit that comes with like a special edition pin and stuff of that nature. These have gotten quite expensive. I found this one for a good price, reasonably a good price, I guess, for compared to some of the others. It's still wrapped in plastic. Has some nice decorations on it and everything. So just going to take a quick look in the box. Let's go ahead and cut the plastic. It's almost, they're getting not really terribly hard to find, but they are getting expensive. So I'd almost like to find another one just to have to collect. But for the most part, I love to build these. Again, doesn't like there's a whole lot of parts. Looks like we have a clear canopy. And looks like we have some choices here of the different layouts that was on the back of the box. The decals still look, it's like the sheet's weathered a little bit, but the decals are mostly in good shape. And I've kind of trying to decide. I really like the Black Omega version. I remember seeing that on the show. I remember the show. I don't know if you've watched the show before. After it gets into about the third season, it gets really good. Lots of action, sci-fi action, lots of ships, stuff of that nature. But I really like this Black Omega version, and you have the decals for that set up here, just a few. So it looks like you kind of go up a really dark gray, almost black on that. But there are some other options, and I have seen on the internet where you can even get some custom built decals to put on top of there. So I'm going to get into the build. I would like to light the engines in the canopy. I have no idea what that's going to take. As you can see, I've not even opened up the plastic here, but that's the goal. And so, again, if you want to check out an in-depth review of all the parts, check out MrBMBuilder's channel. So, let's just get started. All right, this is getting started here. Working on how I'm going to light it. We have the engine nozzles here. As you can see, they are closed in. They do have some really nice detail on the inside here. But around the center it's kind of plain, so I'm going to drill that out. Start off with just like a small pilot hole, and then work my drill bits up until I get in a hole close to the size I want it, and then I finish off with some files on the inside to kind of clean it up. Let's see if I can. As you can see, some really nice detail, so we're not losing that really nice detail that's inside of there. Yeah, I'm thinking about diffusing the light. We'll use maybe these half-inch dome buttons that I have left over from my Star Destroyer build that I used for the engines. We'll just clip off the little button knob in the back, but we'll put that probably in there, and it'll give us just kind of a nice look to the engine coming out instead of just something flat. But that's the plan right now. I think that would look good. And we'll have a light backed up to that. Obviously, we've got to run all the wiring, do all that. So just the very preliminary stages right here. It's not a complicated build. I'm sure that once we get into, I think the issue that most people have is just getting this all fitted together. All right, so here I'm working on the bottom wing section. It's actually pretty friendly to light. As you can see, you have these kind of channel areas that has this section of wing that goes on top. You can tell where I have my lights, and these are 3mm white flickering lights that I've chose. Just going to be lighting the rear, and you have these sections that kind of come in here, and it covers up all your lighting. Kind of goes into the fuselage. That's where the ship will be connected to however I decide to connect it. Haven't quite figured that out. The big issue is that you have these huge gaps and seams left over. As you can tell, I'm working on this one right now. Just kind of filling that in with some Bondo glazing putty. Still a little bit of work to do on it. But as far as doing the lighting, it's fairly simple. You can use these pre-wired lights and just run them in there. And we'll do that for the top section here. We got most of the fuselage ready. You can tell I'm still working on covering up the seams, and that will fit into here, so you'll have all that space to connect all the wires. And then we'll have the cockpit up front here. Still undecided how we're going to do the lighting on that. I've seen people just put like a red light or something and light the whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to go that route. I don't, when I watch the show, it's not really glowing red like that or glowing white. But I may do some lighting on the panels or stuff like that to get a little bit of life. So it's not a complex model, but there's just a lot of work to do to address the seams and the gaps that you're going to have from the different parts. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Once we attach this fuselage, we'll probably have a lot of work to do around it. So just going to keep working on these wing sections. Alright, just working on the wings, getting this top section glued on that has the covering second part of this engine housing. You can see the just the nasty seam lines that are created when you put these together. That was about the best I could do to get that to come together. So here's the other one where I've already started cleaning it up. You can tell the difference. There's some raised detail lines that I'm losing in the process. So I may just try to, when I paint, bring those back in with some shading and stuff. I'm not sure how I'm going to address that yet. But that's the only way to get rid of those nasty seams, is to sand, a lot of sanding and some puttying to get those taken care of. So I still have to attach the second part of this wing to cover up this housing right here. So as you can tell, it's just a lot of work. It's a nice looking kit once you get it together, but it's definitely a lot of work. You can see where one of the laser guns is installed, and so that part goes right there. And just working on that. Alright, getting ready to put my Starfury all together here. As you can see, I have the wires coming up out of the base, or the rod that connects it to the base. And I have the upper part with its wiring ready to go. We're going to attach that. Now for the cockpit, I ended up doing something I think I earlier said I wasn't going to do, and that's just to put a light inside to brighten the whole thing. Just kind of looking at all the things. The pilot takes up a lot of space in there, so I just don't think we'd get a good effect trying to put some fiber optics in there. So I've mounted a small SMD to the very front of his instrument panel here and ran it out. And you can see where I've hooked on a resistor so it wouldn't blow out. And that falls right in to the front of the ship. Of course, we'll add our pilot later. Here is the canopy. It's been painted. I had to mask off the sections, and I just went with a steel color for the canopy framework, and it'll be a little offset. This is going to be a darker gray, almost black kind of color, or at least that's the plan right now. So that's all coming together, and so now I'm just going to work on getting this all sealed up. Alright, I've got it mostly together. Obviously I don't have the engine nozzles and some of the other things on it, but the bulk of the body's going. I've tested all my lights are working, which is always a relief when you get everything sealed up. Still a lot of work to do. You can see where I'm cleaning up where it's sealed in over here. A lot more work to do. One of the things I found was an issue that I'm trying to correct is the front guns, the lower guns, have not been attached. And at first I was just really confused of how they even attach, because it just doesn't look right. They kind of just come out here, but they stick quite a bit further out. And I wasn't, the directions are just hand-drawn line directions, and it wasn't very clear, but it does actually go like that. And I looked up videos and stuff of the actual like models and different ones, and it does appear that they actually do stick out that far once you attach, and quite a bit further from the other ones. The problem is that they got these big old holes right here, and when you attach them, you're going to see that big huge hole. So what I've done is I just take a section of this brass tubing and cut it out, and then I took some pliers and kind of squeezed it and make more of an oval, and then filled it in there, so when we attach that part, it'll give us a little bit more solid looking. It has that rounded look, so a little bit more organic kind of feel to it. So not perfect, but much better. And so I have to attach those, and we're getting real close to priming everything up. And then of course I have the engine nozzles that I've already painted, and I think I was going to use some buttons at first. They were a little too thick and they wouldn't fit over the LEDs. The LEDs protrude out, and with those buttons they wouldn't fit. So what I did is I took some clear plastic styrene, I sanded it all up to diffuse the light, and I'm really happy with that effect. I checked it, so pretty much all these are ready to go. And we have our palette. I still have to add a decal. There's a decal with a human like face on it that goes over there. I got to add that, and then he'll be close to being done. And but we'll attach him later. For the base, I've got most of it ready to go. Just a simple circular base, and all this is a piece of it's like a PCV pipe, plumbing pipe that you see, like a cap that goes on it. And these are magnets for our 9-volt battery that will run it, and this makes that'll hold it in place and makes for simple removal. And I painted that with some textured paint to give it kind of that star-filled look. And then I have my button ready to go once we are ready to connect all that. Alright, I've applied a primer coat on it. As you can see, most of the body work is done. There's still some touching up to do. Again, quite a bit of work with these. You're going to have some seams and gaps where these wings can all come together. A little bit on the body on the back side. Not too bad. Not as bad as I thought the body was going to be. Most of the work's going to go on these wings right here and then around the engines. So it's all primed up and ready to paint. I'm still a little uncertain on exactly what kind of paint. I know I want to go with kind of the dark gray, almost black color to do our Omega version of the Starfury. So I'm just going to try to work on getting that first base coat down. Alright, I have the base coat on. I first went with a gray-black color. It was a little too gray and not enough black. So then I went on with a little bit of Vallejo, well not a little bit, but a little Vallejo Pure Black from their Mecha collection. And very light coat. I try to leave some of the gray still kind of showing through. It's hard to, it's not really coming on the camera, but there are some variations in the paint. So I'm pleased with it. I think it looks good. You can tell where I've added in the engine nozzles. I did a light check on it. Everything's still working with the lights. So I'm pleased with how it's looking so far. So now I'm going to get into decals, and we have a few more parts to attach. So getting close to being finished here. I think I'm going to finish it up when I come back. Well, I should have the finished ship. Alright, well here is our finished Revell Monogram Babylon 5 Black Omega Starfury. So that was a lot to say. I obviously went with the Black Omega version of it. Again, they give you 4 versions that you can go with. I've always liked this design on the show, and so it was nice to do it. Plus, you don't get to paint too many black spaceships. I don't really know a whole lot. I mean, offhand, I can think of maybe Kylo Ren's space shuttle. His shuttle is black, and let's see, Krennic's shuttle was black. I don't know. If you have any other ships that were black, put it down in the comments, because there's just not a whole lot that I know of that you get to paint a black ship. But anyway, so we finished up. The decals were a little bit of a pain. They didn't go on perfect. There's a lot of small places where they just would not settle down. I used several applications of this microsol. I think the decals were starting to, on the verge of tearing up, so kind of is what it is on that. But overall, they went on decent, I would say. I'm happy with it. I put on a matte coat and wasn't quite happy with it, and went back to putting on this gloss varnish from Vallejo. And it's not super glossy, but this gave a really kind of sharp look. I decided not to do any weathering. There is a little bit of color variation that I did when I painted it with the dark gray and the blacks and stuff, but for the most part it's a black ship, And of course, we have the accents with the engine nozzles being kind of that gunmetal color, and we have the silver canopy, and then of course the decals. I really like it. I think it turned out good. Got the lights on. Let's take a look at those. Very happy with how that turned out. See if I can bring this down a little bit, give a better look in there. Really pleased with how that came out. We kept a lot of the detail. There's a lot of really nice detail on the inside of those, and we just cut out the very center. Put some clear styrene plastic in there. We sanded it all down so it diffused the light, and I'm just really pleased with how that turned out. Really nice effect. It was fairly easy to wire and stuff. There was room to run the wiring through the wings and quite a bit of room in there. We did that one SMD in there inside the canopy. And if you look close, you can see. Now there is a decal that goes on the helmet. If you can see, if I can get that in focus for you. There we go. There's a decal and it has like a face on it. And you put that on the helmet. So it kind of gives the appearance that someone's inside the helmet. So that was kind of cool. Haven't seen that before. I think the light turned out well. It wasn't overpowering. It was just enough to where it lights it in there. I did some, if you see that, I did with some silver paints and like little instrument things that the light would reflect off. So really happy with that. And it's just running off a 9-volt battery that we have magnets down there. I think I showed that earlier. So anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the build. Really happy to have this in my collection now. Definitely won't be selling this one, I'll be keeping this one. These are getting harder and harder to come by, and it is a lot of work to get it put together, and a lot of seam work and stuff of that nature. Alright guys, until next time, everybody have a good one.